You know that moment when you think you've hit rock bottom, and then someone hands you a shovel? Yeah, that was me at LaGuardia Airport on November 15, 2024, staring at a cancelled ticket and a text message that would change everything. My name is Serafina Caldwell, and this is the story of how my family's cruelty became their biggest mistake. But before I tell you what happened that day, you need to understand something. Revenge isn't always about getting even. Sometimes, it's about showing people exactly who you've become while they were busy tearing you down. The golden child versus the disappointment. Growing up in the Caldwell household meant living in my sister Vivienne's shadow. She was 3 years older, blonde, perfectly polished, and according to our mother, Margaret, absolutely flawless. I was the unquote, artistic one unquote, which in my family was code for unquote, the disappointment, unquote. Vivienne got a Mercedes for her 16th birthday. I got a used bicycle. Vivienne's college tuition to Yale, fully paid. Mine to a state school. And quote, figure it out yourself, Serafina. You're creative, aren't you? And quote. When Vivienne married Preston Montgomery III, yes, the third, in a $300,000 wedding at the Plaza, I was given a bridesmaid, dressed 2 sizes too small and seated at the table near the kitchen. Mom's words, and quote, well, you should lose weight anyway, dear, and quote. Dad, Richard Caldwell, never said much. He'd just nod along with whatever Mom decreed, hiding behind his newspaper and his scotch. By the time I turned 25, I'd accepted my role. The family punching bag, the cautionary tale, the one they'd mention at dinner parties with a sad shake of their heads. And quote, our youngest daughter, Serafina, well, she tries, and quote. The business that changed everything. What they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was what I was actually doing with my life. After college, I worked 3 jobs. Waitressing at night, freelance graphic design during the day, and on weekends, I cleaned offices. I slept 4 hours a night and survived on instant ramen and black coffee. But I saved every penny. In 2019, I met Tobias Chen at a networking event. He was a venture capitalist who actually listened when I pitched my idea. A budget airline that didn't treat economy passengers like cattle. Premium service at affordable prices. Revolutionary booking technology. Transparent pricing. No hidden fees. He funded my startup with $2 million. Everyone told me I was crazy. The airline industry was impossible to break into. I'd fail within a year. My family, they laughed when I told them during Christmas dinner 2019. And quote, an airline. You, and quote, Vivienne had snorted into her champagne. And quote, Sarah, you get motion sickness on escalators, and quote, Mom had patted my hand condescendingly, and quote, that's nice, dear, very ambitious. Now, who wants more? Turkey, and quote, by 2021, Skybridge Airlines had 5 routes and was breaking even. By 2023, we had 30 routes and were profitable. By November 2024, we operated on 75 routes across the United States with a fleet of 42 aircraft. We'd just been valued at $800 million in our Series D funding round. I owned 65% of the company. My family had no idea. I'd stopped trying to share my life with them after that Christmas dinner. Why bother? They'd made it clear I wasn't worth their attention. The Hawaii trip. The trouble started in early November when Vivienne announced she was planning a family vacation to Maui for Thanksgiving week. Mom was ecstatic. And quat. All of us together in paradise. Won't that be wonderful? And quat, Mom had gushed. During our monthly family dinner, the obligation I still forced myself to attend. And quat, sounds great, and quat, I'd said, pushing my food around my plate. And quat, we've booked a villa right on the beach. It's $15,000 for the week, and quat, Vivienne announced, then turned to me with that smile. You know the one. Fake sweet, real poison. And quat, we're splitting it 4 ways, of course. Your share is $3,750. And quat, I nearly choked. That was more than I used to make in 2 months during my struggling years. And quat, that's a lot, and quat, I managed. And quat, oh, Serafina, don't be cheap, and quat, Mom sighed. And quat, family is important. Surely you can manage. And quat, I could manage. I could have bought the entire resort. But they didn't know that, and I wasn't about to tell them just to be hit with demands for money. And quat, I'll figure it out, and quat, I said quietly. And quat, and flights, of course, and quat, Dad added, not looking up from his phone. And quat, we're all flying out November 18th. Returning November 25th. Book your own ticket. We're using our miles for ours, and quat, of course they were. The setup. Over the next week, I booked my flight on Skybridge Airlines, naturally. First class, under my real name. I figured even if they somehow noticed the airline name, they'd never connect it to me. But then, 2 days before the trip, Vivienne called. And quat, hey, loser, and quat, she said. That was her nickname for me. Hilarious, right? And quat, change of plans. We're leaving on the 15th instead. Preston has a business thing on the 18th, and quat, Vivienne, I already booked, and quat, so rebook. God, you're so inflexible. This is why you're still single, and quat, I was 32. She made it sound like I was collecting cats and hoarding newspapers. And quat, I'll see what I can do, and quat, I said. And quat, great. Oh, and we're not splitting the villa anymore. Preston and I decided we're paying for it, our treat. But you still need to cover the excursions. Your share is $2,000. Venmo me by tomorrow. And quat. She hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone. Something felt off. Vivienne being generous. That wasn't her style. I called my assistant, Riley Moreno, who managed my personal affairs. And quat, Riley, can you check something for me? My flight to Maui, confirmation number SKY78452B, and quat. She called back 5 minutes later. And quat, Sarah, that's weird. Your ticket was cancelled an hour ago. Full refund processed. And quat, my blood ran cold. And quat, I didn't cancel it. And quat, I know. The cancellation was requested from, hold on. It came through a customer service call. Someone claiming to be you, verified with your mother's maiden name and your childhood address. And quat, information my family had. And quat, can you see who called? And quat, the numbers here? It's, wow, it's registered to a Vivienne Montgomery, and quat. The airport moment. November 15th, 2024. LaGuardia Airport, 6:30 a.m. I showed up early, my rebooked ticket in hand, which I'd had to purchase under a Pseudonym through a different airline because my family had cancelled my original Skybridge flight. I'd chosen to fly commercial anyway to avoid suspicion. I got through security and headed to my gate. That's when my phone buzzed. Mom, and quat, Serafina, where are you, and quat, me, and quat, at the airport, heading to gate B7. See you in Maui, and quat, Mom, and quat, lol. No, you're not, and quat, me, and quat, what, and quat, Mom, and quat. We cancelled your flight, sweetheart. All of them, actually. Every airline. We told them it was fraud, that someone stole your identity. You won't be flying anywhere today, or this week, and quat. My hands shook as I read the message. Me, and quat. You did what? Why would you do that? And quat. Mom, and quat. Oh, honey, did you really think we wanted you on this trip? You're embarrassing. Always have been. We're taking a family photo for our Christmas card, and frankly, you ruin every picture. And quat. Vivienne. Added to the chat, and quat. Plus, you never Venmo'd me the $2,000. Guess you're too broke. Have fun walking home, loser. And quat. Dad, and quat. Your mother's right. Use this time to reflect on your choices. And quat. I stood there, frozen in the middle of the terminal, as travelers rushed past me. My vision blurred with tears. Not because I'd miss Hawaii. I didn't care about that. But because my own family had conspired to humiliate me. Again. Then, something inside me snapped. No more. I wiped my eyes, straightened my shoulders, and opened my phone. The power move. First, I called Riley. And quat. I need you to conference in. Marcus, and quat. Marcus Webb was our chief operating officer. And quat. Sarah, what's wrong? And quat. Riley asked. And quat. I'll explain. Just get Marcus. And quat. 30 seconds later, both were on the line. And quat. Marcus, I need a complete passenger manifest for all Skybridge flights to Maui over the next 3 days. Specifically, I'm looking for Margaret Caldwell, Richard Caldwell, Vivienne Montgomery, and Preston Montgomery, and quat, on it. Give me 2 minutes, and quat. I walked to a quiet corner near a charging station and sat down. Marcus came back, and quat. Found them. There. Booked on flight SB 1847, departing in 40 minutes from gate C15. All 4 in first class, and quat. Of course they were. And quat. Perfect. Here's what I need you to do, and quat. The confrontation. I made my way to gate C15. It was busy, a full flight. And there, in the first class boarding line, stood my family. Mom was wearing her Hermes scarf and designer sunglasses, looking every bit the wealthy matriarch. Dad had his usual detached expression. Vivienne was on her phone, laughing about something, while Preston stood beside her looking bored. I walked right up to them. And quat. Hi, Mom, and quat. She turned, and her face went from confusion to horror to anger in 3 seconds flat. And quat. Serafina. What are you doing here? I told you, and quat, that you cancelled my flights. Yes, I got the message. All of them. And quat. Vivienne laughed. And quat. Did you seriously come here to beg? That's pathetic, even for you. And quat. I'm not begging, and quat. I said calmly. And quat. I'm here to watch, and quat. Watch what? And quat. Mom demanded. Right on cue, a gate agent's voice came over the PA system. And quote, attention, passengers on flight SB1847 to Maui. We have a gate change. Please proceed to gate E22 immediately. Again, flight SB1847 is now boarding at gate E22, and quote, my family groaned but gathered their bags. And quote, wait, and quote, I said, and quote, you might want to check your boarding passes, and quote, Mom grabbed her phone and opened her mobile boarding pass. Her face went white. And quote, what is this? And quote, let me see, and quote. Vivienne snatched the phone, and quote, it says our tickets are cancelled. This has to be a mistake, and quote. All four of them were frantically checking their phones now. Dad looked up, and for the first time in years, I saw actual fear in his eyes. And quote, Serafina, what did you do? And quote, me? I'm just a loser, remember? What could I possibly do? And quote. I smiled. And quote, although I do happen to know the owner of Skybridge Airlines, maybe I could make a call. And quote, Skybridge, and quote. Mom's voice was shrill. And quote, why would we care about some budget airline? And quote, because, and quote, I said, letting the words hang in the air. And quote, that's who you're flying with. Or rather, who you're not flying with. And quote, Vivienne's face had gone from pale to red. And quote, you work for them. And quote, not exactly. And quote, I pulled out my business card. CEO and founder, Serafina Caldwell, Skybridge Airlines. I watched as realization dawned on each of their faces. And quote, that's impossible. And quote, Mom whispered. And quote, is it? You never asked what I did for a living? Not once in 5 years. You were too busy telling me I was a failure. And quote, the gate agent approached us. And quote, excuse me, is there a problem? And quote, yes, and quote, I said. And quote, these passengers, and quote, I gestured to my family, and quote, had their tickets cancelled due to fraudulent activity. Their account has been flagged, and they've been banned from all Skybridge flights. And quote, what? And quote, Vivienne shrieked. And quote, you can't do that. And quote, I absolutely can. You admitted via text message that you fraudulently cancelled my flights on multiple airlines. That's illegal. By the way, I've already forwarded those messages to our legal team and to TSA. And quote, Preston finally spoke. And quote, this is ridiculous. Do you know who I am? And quote, Preston Montgomery III. Yes, I also know your family's investment firm uses Skybridge for all corporate travel. That's a $4 million annual contract. Should I cancel that, too? And quote, he shut up immediately. Mom tried to touch my arm. And quote, Serafina, sweetheart, let's not be hasty. We were just joking. And quote, I stepped back. And quote, don't touch me. And don't call me sweetheart. You made it clear what you think of me. Embarrassing. Ruins every picture. Have fun walking home, loser. Your words, not mine. And quote, we can explain. And quote, Dad started. And quote, no need. See, here's what's going to happen. The four of you are going to figure out how to get to Maui on your own. Good luck finding last-minute flights during Thanksgiving week. Spoiler alert. They're all sold out or running about $3,000 per person. And quat. You're being petty, and quat. Vivienne spat. And quat. No. Vivienne. Petty was giving me a bridesmaid dress 2 sizes too small. Petty was forgetting to invite me to family dinners. Petty was mocking my career choices for years. This is justice. And quat. I turned to walk away, then paused. And quat. Oh, and about that Christmas card photo you're so worried about. Don't worry. I won't be in it. In fact, I won't be at any family functions anymore. Consider this my resignation from the family, and quat. The aftermath. I didn't walk home. I upgraded myself to a first-class seat on our competitor's airline and flew to Maui that afternoon. Alone. I spent Thanksgiving week in a beautiful oceanfront suite I booked myself, working remotely during the day and watching sunsets at night. It was the most peaceful holiday I'd had in years. My phone exploded with messages. Mom, and quat, Serafina, we're stuck in Chicago on a layover. The next flight isn't until tomorrow. Please, can you help us? And quat, Vivienne, and quat. I can't believe you're being so cruel. We're family. And quat. Dad. And quat. This is childish. And quat. I blocked all 3 numbers. Preston, surprisingly, sent a different kind of message. And quat. I understand why you did what you did. For what it's worth, I'm sorry for not speaking up more. Congratulations on your success. And quat. I didn't respond, but I didn't block him either. The revelation. When I returned home on November 26th, there was a letter waiting for me, handwritten from Mom. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Serafina, I don't expect you to forgive us. I don't even know if I'd forgive us if our positions were reversed. Your father and I spent 2 days traveling to Maui, arrived exhausted, and spent the entire week fighting Vivienne. And Preston left early, but that's not why I'm writing. I'm writing because I saw the article in Forbes. And quat, 30 under 40, Serafina Caldwell, the woman revolutionizing budget air travel, and quat. There was a photo of you in front of one of your planes, smiling. I realized, looking at that picture, that I've never really seen you smile like that. Not around us. Anyway, I've spent the last few days thinking about where we went wrong. When did I stop seeing you as my daughter and start seeing you as less than? When did your accomplishments become invisible to me because they weren't what I expected? I don't have good answers. I know you said you're resigning from the family. I understand. But I need you to know something. I'm proud of you. I should have said it years ago. I should have seen you. You were never the disappointment. Serafina. We were. I'm sorry, Mom. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer. I didn't respond. 6 months later. It's May 2025 now, and I'm writing this from my office on the 42nd floor of our new headquarters in Manhattan. Sky Bridge just went public. We're valued at $2.3 billion. I'm one of the youngest female CEOs of a major airline in US history. My family reached out a few more times. Mom sent flowers on my birthday. Dad sent a check, which I donated to a charity supporting first-generation college students. Vivienne sent a formal apology letter that her therapist probably helped her write. I haven't responded to any of it. Last week, I was invited to speak at an entrepreneurship conference. During the Q&A, someone asked, and quat, what was the Hardest part of building your company. And quote. I thought about lying, giving some generic answer about funding or regulations. Instead, I told the truth. And quote. The hardest part was believing I was worth betting on when the people who should have believed in me never did. The hardest part was proving to myself what I already was, despite being told my entire life that I wasn't enough. And quote. The room went silent. And quote. But here's what I learned, sometimes the people who underestimate you are doing you a favor. They're showing you exactly who you need to become to prove them wrong. Not for them, for yourself. And quote. The applause was deafening. The real ending. You're probably wondering if I ever reconciled with my family. If we had some tearful reunion where everyone apologized and we became one big happy family again. We didn't. Some relationships are too broken to fix. Some wounds are too deep to heal. And that's okay. I'm not angry anymore. Anger requires caring, and I've stopped caring about their approval. I've built a life I'm proud of, surrounded by people who value me. Riley, Marcus, Tobias, and the incredible team at Sky Bridge who believed in the vision. Do I ever wonder what could have been different if my family had supported me? Sure, sometimes. But then I remember standing in that airport, reading those cruel texts, feeling smaller than I'd ever felt. And I remember the moment I decided I was done being small. That moment changed everything. So no, I don't talk to my mother. I don't attend family holidays. I didn't invite them to the company's IPO celebration or my recent keynote speech at the United Nations about sustainable aviation. But I also don't hate them anymore. I simply moved on. And here's the thing about revenge. The best kind isn't about making people suffer. It's about becoming so successful, so fulfilled, so undeniably yourself that their opinions become irrelevant. My family tried to humiliate me at that airport. They tried to remind me I was the disappointment, the failure, the joke. Instead, they reminded me I was the owner of the airline they were flying on. They reminded me I had the power to choose who gets to be in my life. They reminded me I didn't need their validation anymore. That's not just revenge. That's freedom. 2. Anyone reading this who's ever been made to feel less than by their own family, you are not the problem. You never were. The people who can't see your worth are simply revealing their own limitations, not yours. Build your airline, whatever that means for you. And when they realize what they've lost, let them sit in the terminal of their regret, watching you fly. You don't owe them a ticket on your journey.